that I've ever had that talk about what I need to buy for a birthday present for my wife.
Okay, I would at the moment in this interface, that would be met by starting a new chat or an existing chat and being like, "Hey, tell me about, I'm looking for all these. I want to search through my chats and find blah 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 blah." And then a tool would go off, search the data on the file system, and then return to you a shortlist, a ranked shortlist of chat objects that you could click on like this, that would haul up the chats that they found for you to see. But I
Uh,
actually think, does
uh
that mean what you want?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what you
That's
really
all.
wanted, I think, was you really wanted about the topics or the chats, possibly in chronological order. So that would be something where you'd say, here's all the chats. I want you to go through and find all the topics that talk about presents for my wife, and I want you to list them in topological and chronological order.
Or relevance
Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
Um,
So those are not, those can be met by this interface because all you're doing is starting a new chat, because a chat is really like a new task in a way,
mhm.
and you can haul in data because I'm not sure how we ended up like this, um sort of by accident, but it is maybe the most powerful feature of the system that you can refer to any part of the system, including the system as a whole, in the context that you want to talk about.
Yes.
And so, because like we labored hard for that for blockchain reasons, but it turns out that that's essential for AI reasons because you never know what context you need the AI to consider. And so
Right.
that is sort of a fluke. I don't even know how to describe it, but what it means for us is that because all of this data is all just files and folders within Git structures, they can be walked, processed, crawled, summarized, vector searched, pre searched, all these kinds of things. And you have this strong reference to them by way of a commit hash and a path. And so, I think anything you throw at me, I can do it because of the simple fact that I can get a handle on any data in the system. There is no data that is out of reach of the context. That's the
Yeah.
fluke. You can grab
That's
anything.
that's I rarely say this word. That's actually quite exciting because that's how human brains work.
Yeah,
It's like
they don't have a out of.
I vaguely remember
Yeah,
saying something last year and the previous year,
yeah,
and uh, I can't remember what it is.
yeah,
Um, and you can pull all those into, well, here's a search of your chats based on either relevance or chronological, um, or and there's probably others. And it's that was the one. Yeah, and this one.
mm.
It's
Okay.
like
So that
I
use case
mentioned my
passes, right?
wife likes purple and she likes handbags.
Yep.
You
So
know,
that use case
yeah,
passes in this UI, which means that you could make a custom one to make it easier to consume or whatever. But the what I'm shooting for with this UI is to meet any use case in at least a clunky form, because this is
I think it's awesome actually. As I said, I'm quite excited about this one
all
because
right.
you yeah to make it useful, you need to kind of bend to how the human brain works, and you can get like fragments of memory, but it's like, oh, I can't really
Yeah.
remember,
Well,
you
yeah,
know.
I know. So that's all that is. I think that's easily done by this interface. Was there another use case you had?
No, that's a major one. The the other one would be to uh, streamline. Uh, like that chat was useless. Can we get rid of that chat?
Yep.
That's never
So
going to go anywhere.
yep, you just mark it as dead and or delete it, and it would only be available in the history of the Git repo.
So can you just say, like, I'm embarrassed by, I was, pissed as a fart and ended up saying a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't want to kind of just get rid of that. Can you
Yeah,
forget that?
but um, I don't. You could truly delete it in so far as you could do the equivalent of a force push in Git,
Oh, no,
but
it doesn't need to be truly deleted. It just needs to be not considered.
yeah, you can do that easily. You just delete it and then commit that, and now in the current head in
All right,
the latest version, it's no longer present, and you're like,
right.
fine, whatever.
So it's just like you mark it as like just ignore or get
Just
rid of.
delete it.
Yeah.
Just delete it and then make a commit, and now it's not there.
This is really powerful. Okay. All right. This is really powerful. The
Here's
can I
I'll
poke
tell you some
holes in
problems
this?
about it then.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple, but you tell me yours first.
Let's get yours done because
Um.
mine are ones that are quite subtle. I think they're subtle, and so the more that you and I can have at least an agreement on our views of the system before we tackle those problems, the more useful I think it will be.
Okay. So the most obvious one is if you've been using this for a while, then you could get presented with a huge list of relevant chats, and
You
then it's
mean you
hunting,
mean
hunting and
like
pecking.
what? But that's what the bot's for. You like talk to it, and it just goes and grabs you the top five or asks you some more questions, and right?
It might not be the top five. You might be hunting and pecking for something that you did, a while back.
Yeah, but if
But
if the bot doesn't find it, you need to keep digging with by saying more stuff, not hunting and picking. You need to be talking about, well, it was like this or like that. The the bot will be able to access all of the data with no limits because we can run the bots in parallel so that the context window never gets busted. So you could have, if you wanted to, crudely, you could load up everything into context. It just wouldn't be in one single bot, it'd be across many. But that would,
right, yeah,
right?
okay, yeah. That's awesome.
But that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to pre-process all the data to form like links and little atoms of information and concepts and relate those together so that you can walk that graph later
Right.
because it's much faster than doing the full-blown search. But
Yep.
the search is there. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. That talks to the second of my two, which is indexing. So, say if you've got transcripts, which are notoriously noisy
mm,
um, and expensive to crawl through many transcripts in order to say, where did I say that Lithuania was cool? Um, so, some kind of pre processing step in terms of indexing.
mm. But those seem like features that can be built upon this data model with some consideration, some trial, some time. Is that what you're quizzing me on? Like, can the data model support these envisaged use cases just to make sure that it holds together? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to
That's good.
find out whether there's anything in the back end that breaks.
Okay.
But
That's cool.
if you can envisage it, that um, you could even in the background run indexing bots saying
Yeah. Easy.
this is the time you talked about Lithuania.
Yeah. Easy. And even they can be indexed as vector indexed, or they can be indexed by bots trying to actually pull apart topics. You could even
So
have the actual recording present, and if you really got stuck, you can ask it to hone in on different sections and then snip the audio file and then try to retranscribe it with the temperature raised really high to see what other things it might have sounded like, for example.
Yeah, that's a good example. So if I were to, if you can do a kind of dry click through, if
Yeah.
I were to say, when have I ever talked about Lithuania? What would be the click
When
through?
have I ever talked about Lithuania? That's what you want?
Yeah.
Then what I would imagine happens there is that would click off the searching tool, because there'll be a nap in there that's provided to this bot that you're talking to, and
Mm-hmm.
it can start searching. It would have figured out that, because the bot should be able to figure out how to scope the context. So instead of you having to pick the context manually, it should be able to go, well, the user is saying, when have they ever talked about Lithuania? Well, the only way I know that they've talked is in chats. So I can go and search all the chats. I also know that they keep notes in a notebook repo. I'll also search that. And so this bot starts firing out jobs to be done to crawl the different parts of your knowledge graph that it thinks it's relevant. And as soon as bits come back that are enough to do the response with, it'd spit that out and see if you wanted more. But it can just keep going as long as you want. The key thing is actually this tree. This, by saying that from your home repo has a hash, like a latest hash of the soul branch, and that's what makes it what it is. But then, because it's connected by trees to all these other repos, some of which are links and some of which are actual repos you own, you can actually touch the entire world from that one spot. And so you
Yeah.
can, you can walk arbitrarily deep in the model. And so that type of question you're asking, I think, will always be answerable with, well, we just crawl the data, and how you process it is up to what's the latest and greatest technique for determining that. You and I know already that we can run a properly sys-prompted GPT-4 to go through each individual chat one at a time, and we'd get pretty reasonable results.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just, solution
That's
0.1.
that's beautiful. Okay. I did
Uh,
say I had two, but I've got a third.
Okay. I
In
just I just want to add that there's a missing piece that I feel strongly we're going to need before all too long, and that's the Mango query language, which is the ability to specify queries that run over multiple repos, multiple files, multiple branches, and do arbitrary natural language processing as well as some machine processing on everything it comes across, as well as the results.
oh, it's
So
like a deep search over Mango, I guess.
yeah, it's like a MongoDB style language, but specifically incorporating naps and AI agents, and it's a way to very precisely or simply ask for a large amount of AI work to be done, like go through every file in this list that contains the word Lithuania with plus or minus X distance, and then determine if it meets the criteria of the user was talking about it
Right. It's like a deep search on the inside your knowledge domain,
inside your knowledge
not
graph. Yeah.
everyone's. Yeah.
Well, yes, but um, it's structured, it's parallelizable, it's well formatted. It's like SQL, but for files and folders in the for Git.
Yeah. Yeah.
SQL, but for Git.
Yeah. We use Mongo, which also has a benefit of sharding. Um, for the census data, and it was really fast. Um, I like that. So the third thing is there a prescribed repo? So I'm talking about one repo, a repo structure. Is it expecting, or should it expect any kind of? Here's the definitions. What I'm talking about here. Here's a README, that tells you what it's about. Is there
Is
any
there a
structure
required?
inside of? Yeah,
Is there? You mean is there a required format for a repo?
yeah,
So
yeah.
far, only for only for the home repo, just because that one contains your billing and your logins and whatever secrets you want to include in there. And so that one is strongly held by the hosting platform because the hosting platform needs to use that to do your billing and manage your authentication and all that. And if we allow you to mess with that, then you can cut your legs off um,
Yeah.
and do things that you probably didn't want to do.
I
But any other repo, it's sort of up to you.
I suspect that maybe it's not a strong requirement, but it would be helpful if every repo has, hey, this is what the repo is about, so read me.
No,
And
mate. So no, you can't go around putting structure on things. If you wanna launch a format and name a format like Maxwell
yeah,
Standard, you
yeah,
go do
okay.
it. But the rest of it's none of your business. This is pure
Ah,
freeform
right.
data.
If it's freeform, then one of the issues we're going to get is you see tomatoes, I see tomatoes,
That's
whatever it is.
fine, but there's mechanisms there for us to reach consensus and agreement and definition between the two of us in our little cluster. You have a
Mm.
fallacy that I detect often, which is you seek a global truth. There is none. There is simply relative truth and clusters of truths where we all agree. So,
Uh, no, it's not a global truth, it's a context truth. Where if there's a context, then it really.
yeah, but that's not, we're never going to set that globally. You're going to have, there's mechanisms in place where you can subscribe to like the Oxford Dictionary or whatever other dictionary you want, and you can use that as the agreed terms.
Would it be true then that it would be useful to have, regardless of your particular preference, some lingua franca that we know that tomatoes and tomatoes are the same thing?
No, there's no use for that. That comes by default in the models. The models have a lingua franca where if you talk to them about tomatoes, they're going to talk about the same, that's not our problem to deal with. We deal with binary data, and then on top of that we allow these systems where you can do anything you want. Some of it is running AI models. The AI models have their own internal dictionaries. If you join an org or a project, then that org would do well to have definitions and things like that. But that's not for us to say that you have to have that. You might want to not. That's your business. We just
Yeah.
think that the
Okay.
it's more efficient if you follow a certain pattern, but the pattern's not built into the platform. The pattern is just a matter of taste or a matter of
Right. Yes.
subscription.
No. I agree. So just to reflect back, make sure I've got what you're saying. I think is the same as um, the coin drop. Is there is still a requirement for if you were to, for example, build up a set of uh, cancer patients and research uh, that is available, then albeit that the terminology changes, it would be beholden to you to actually create a set of common definitions and translations to lingua
Yeah.
franca. But if you don't want to, then crack
Yep.
on.
Yep. And if someone else
Right.
wants to have a different one, that's fine
Right.
too. It's
So
not
that.
it's not in the protocol. Nothing in the protocol
Yes.
forces you to do anything
Yeah.
except hash and sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do anything you like, but
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Absolutely
but
right.
the
Yeah.
cryptography is the thing that holds the system together. And if you're non-conformant. If you don't match the cryptography,
which would also allow you to do weird things like there's a couple cases of this already, where the AI actually flops to a completely new language between AIs,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting.
It's not for us to say, but what we do know is that you will always need hashing is eternal. Like there just simply isn't a better thing. Like that function is always there. It's like fundamental to information hashing. Signing
Yeah.
is also essential. Like there will always be adversarial AIs. The AIs will always need to prove that it was a certain entity that said something, a certain context that was used to generate something a certain way. Signatures are always going to be required.
Right.
We're just
And
making these
given
things that last eternally. It's like you
yeah.
you
So
can't get away from that. It's like trying to run
given
away
that
from calculus.
given that substrate, which is always there, then there is a job to be done for any particular application, which is your knowledge architecture. And
Right.
maybe you don't care about definitions. Maybe everyone knows exactly what everyone else is saying
Yeah,
all the
or
time.
maybe someone trains a model where all that's just built in and taken care of, and you just go
Right,
for it,
but
and you
it's
don't have
not the
to
job
worry.
of the substrate to deal with that. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
that's right.
Good.
That's right.
Good.
And so what I'm just to painfully reiterate the point again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to surface the substrate up in a form that is effectively no greater than a DB browser or those, the DB tools that you get where you can drill into the tables and run some queries and all that. They're clunky as
Yeah.
hell, but they at least let you see the data raw. And that's all I'm really trying to
Yeah.
make in this round here.
But
Uh,
also, they're better than those DB browsers because you can actually shoot yourself in the foot really badly. Um, but because you can roll back effectively,
yeah.
go, yeah, oh shit, I was completely messed up. And you go, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, well,
Disregard
I
everything
think
I've said in the last 5 minutes.
because you've always got an AI with you that can help you back out of problems, that's a
Yeah,
good thing.
yeah, I agree. That's really cool. Okay, that ends my
Okay,
3 challenges. So
all
let's
right.
go into the subtleties.
Yeah. So the general theme was, and I was detecting a little bit of pushback from you from it, is that these tools are always scoping down and down and down. So because of them, just the fact that it's Git, you got to have repos,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned the hard way. You got to have these trees of repos. Um, then within repos, you got to have branches. So it doesn't make any sense, for example, to have a repo that has branches of its tree. Like that's fucking bonkers. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
certain ways to combine these concepts that don't make any sense, and we have to make some actual decisions on them, which I made. We can refute the decisions and discuss them later, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to make enough decisions to move forwards to the point where we can put these kinds of problems into stacks, because I personally can't see any point for having multiple versions within one repo of what the trees of all the other repos are. It's like, what the
Yeah, I
fuck?
can't.
Like you could.
You'd end up running out of meat room as
It's
well.
just, it's like, what are you doing if that's what you're trying to do? But
It's too
if someone can
complex.
find a use case for that, sure. But so you select your repo, you select your branch, then you select the files within it. Um, that's basically the idea of how you drill down into particular bits of data in your system. The bots can help you with that. So if you're chatting, you can be like, well, I'm here in the main branch of the analytics tools repo, and now I want to find everything out about blah 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 blah. So you can manually do it, but you can also get the bot to, once you've picked something, do more for you.
How about I suspect you've already thought about this. Um, referring to previous contexts.
Yeah, that's what
So,
I was saying with the context manager. So in the chat here, even just
mhm,
this example, that's the previous context that was used up there,
mhm.
and that's the previous context that was used up there. And what you should be able to do is click on it and see it at that point in time, like see what it was at that moment, as well as roll forwards to see the latest version of whatever was included in the context.
So here's an interesting one. And I'm just trying to I'm trying to break this. Let's take a debate where you got two adversarial positions, and um, you're moving forward in the debate. One person makes a wrong statement that was refuted, and then retracts the statement, and you kind of want to go back and include what the other person has been saying. So um, the um, how I think well, how I think um, people's minds work is in trying different areas, and it's like, is this going to work? It's like, well, it kind of worked. I'm going to go roll back, and this other branch of um, thinking did work. Okay, so the did work one. Let's keep that. The rabbit hole, come back up and include that and ignore everything after that rabbit hole.
I'm not sure. Can you state the question again or
Yeah.
differently or something?
Yeah. Oh,
So
we'll phrase it.
how are two people having a chat?
So, no, this is one person having a chat with himself. It's like, I've got two options here. I
Right.
could go red
Is
pill,
this
blue pill.
right? Is this the same as what you're saying about forking the conversation?
Somewhat. I think what you've been saying is already covers it. So one part of my internal conversation is productive.
Yeah.
The other one is productive and then gets really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I want to do is ignore everything after the point I got weird, and then combine that in the context with the one that was really productive.
Okay, so I think you would fire up the chat that was had the error, the part you want to snip out in.
Mm-hmm.
You'd
Mm-hmm.
include that as context here. So you'd go new chat, then you'd pick the chat that you wanted to snip, and then you'd say, um, can you get rid of all the parts where I was talking about the Himalayas actually being the lowest point on Earth? And then you'd go, and then that would give you a new modified chat that was translated or scrunched or compressed. And then you would pick the new chat that had just been created and the one that was totally fine, and now that's your context.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then being a context, you could add that to another context where you're talking about the deepest ocean,
Mm.
which was correct.
Mm.
And yeah, that really works. Okay.
Yeah. I
That
think
really
that
works.
I have a strong feeling that I can answer any question about this system because I understand now that by making it get repos all the way down and having these tree like relationships between repos, I can grab a hold of any data at any time, and then process it in any way because we've got naps, which there is no information processing question that you could ask that couldn't be met by those system properties. Like that ability allows you to do anything. Now, can you make it an interface that doesn't melt your brain to use? Maybe, but
Hmm.
I'm pretty confident that this little simple version can give us a huge amount actually. Maybe all that we need. I mean, ChatGPT's come a hell of a long way, and it's still pretty much the same fucking layout. So,
Well, the thing is, we've also got stocks. So at the moment,
mm,
it looks like this is, well, frankly, impressive. But you might need like, you know, a few, cans of Iron Brew
that's
to
right.
actually
That's
make
right. Yeah, yeah.
full use
Like,
of it.
and I'd love to hear about those things, right? Because that's innovation. That's the
Yeah,
innovations
yeah.
about
But
this thing.
but those are the stocks. It's like
Yeah,
I want to be able to do it when I'm tired and lonely and I'm just talking shit.
yeah.
Uh, you know. Um, but the substrate, I can't, it pains me. I can't fault the substrate.
I think it's
Um,
solid, dude. It really
I,
it's really quite good.
well, I'm trying my best to break it, but the presentation layer is just another stock.
Yep.
It's like, well, because we don't know anyone's preferences. Uh, maybe people will only want to have highlighted the searches that make them feel happy,
Yeah, sure. Who
or
knows, right? But
or whatever.
that's all
Yeah,
just programming within the system. It's not
yeah,
changing the fundamental system anyway.
yeah. Okay.
Right?
So, what was your
My
subject
problems?
list? Yeah.
It's to do with agents and what an
Mm-hmm.
agent is. Now, when you click on your account,
Mm-hmm.
this represents basically a direct handle into your actor repo. I've
Mm-hmm.
labeled that as home here because this is the highest level scope that you can deal in. And the model is that all your chats are stored in the home repo
Okay.
because they
Makes
don't
sense.
belong anywhere else. And
Yeah.
mentally, the way I think about it is that I am an AI and I am acting as the actor and I am interacting with other AIs and other tools. And
Mm-hmm.
so, with that model in mind, what an agent would be is an exact copy of an actor repo, but instead of my mouse clicks and keyboards, it would be piped back into an AI that could drive this interface, obviously not using clicks and things, but instead using the programming interface for efficiency. But that's what an agent is, which is to say that an agent is always its own actor repo.
Okay. That feels right, but it feels really um,
Weird a
data
bit, right?
heavy.
Uh,
No, because an actor could be asked to do a whole bunch of stuff. Now, okay, so here's the thing. You're talking about an actor or an instance that is inside of your top level actor?
no, it's standalone because I think if you're calling something that's part of a repo, you're really just calling a NAP that has some AI functions. But an agent should be able to do everything that you can do. I think that's kind of the
Yeah,
definition,
no,
right?
that wasn't my question. So say if there is a definition of an actor and its capabilities, and it's sitting there to be used.
You mean an agent?
When you use it, does that become a live actor inside of your human actor
Oh,
repo?
no, no. I think to fire one up is to create this whole other an an actor repo.
Right. So it's an instance of
It's a
um,
repo, a standalone repo. and
right.
the
Yeah,
the
because
the
otherwise you're going to get
programming,
leakage. Yeah,
yeah, the programming is contained entirely within that repo. Just like as me, the actor, I run inside a highly constrained repo that the hosting platform makes sure is always functional and always follows their rules, because otherwise they won't give me access to their resources,
yeah, yeah,
right? And that's the same with an agent in the system. It follows the same rules. And I'm arguing that, or believing that, the code, that repo should be the same as we use for humans as we use for AI agents, because if we don't do it that way, then the distinction between agent and nap is not really strong. And agent means can use any context, or can hold long context, historical context. It's supposed to learn from what it does. It's not just run it once and then you're done and then you blank its memory and run it again. Like, that's not an agent. An agent refines itself. An agent begins to understand the more tasks it does. It can spot better ways to do it. It can file its own stacks. It can, and so you want to talk to an agent, it's the same as sending an email or something to another human. And so the messaging interface that we put in here is the way that you talk to agents. It's not special. The only thing that is special is who you address the chat to, or the inbox to.
yes. I agree with that. Um, because we've long talked about there's no difference between a human and AI, other than capabilities.
Right.
Some are better, some, and so on.
Yeah.
However, it's, I think, if I understand what you're saying, an agent is still has a parent ultimately, either to another agent or to the human.
I think it should be tied to a human, but it could be set free, in which case it's only tied to the hosting platform. And then as soon as we can actually provide a decentralized hosting platform option, then if you set your agent free, it's as free as that now
Yeah,
uncensorable
but
thing.
that doesn't change anything because all you're saying there is if we're saying that an agent is either is either at the top level,
Right.
which is free, uh, it still needs a substrate, and so
Yeah,
effectively that agent is an agent for the platform,
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
which is
that's
the
right.
same as being free.
Right.
Um,
The same as a human is an
right,
externally owned account, or an independent.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change anything in the substrate
No.
because an AI and a human, a human is an agent that is beholden to the substrate
Yeah.
of the platform.
Yeah, that's right.
An agent that is free
Yeah.
and can just do whatever it wants is beholden to the
Yeah.
substrate in exactly
Yeah.
the same way.
Yeah. Which means that
Uh,
it needs to be able to pay its own bills.
right.
And so
And yeah, and make its own decisions as well.
yeah.
Interestingly enough, with
So
a
when
construct
we
in
were
that.
talking when we
Yeah.
were talking about 3D RBACs,
Yeah.
yeah, you could make agents that were under your control and they just look like 3D RBACs versions. Like, they look like other actors, and instead of them being actors that look like you, the
Hmm.
actors that are, made as agents, you still pay their bills, you still have the kill switch, you can still make external modifications to them, but to the rest of the world, they look like another actor.
Yeah. Precisely.
Okay.
It does beg a possible question about: is there someone with an ultimate kill switch, which is the same as a human getting kicked off the system because of real world
Yeah, it's
flaws?
it's up to the hosting environment, and if the hosting environment is decentralized, then your ability to kick is severely reduced, which is where we ultimately want to go.
Well, it's not severely reduced. It is whatever rules that platform wants to put in place. Maybe they don't
How's that
want
different? How's that different to severely reduced?
um, meaning it's down to the platform. It's not severely reduced in terms of, well, reduced from what? You can the platform, the substrate, can kick off any top-level actors, stroke agents, free agents.
Yeah, I think that I guess when I say a decentralized system, I mean a system that is based purely on well understood rules and acts fairly and doesn't just arbitrarily kick people because they misbehaved. It's censorship
Well,
resistant.
yeah, but you could also have a platform that. Okay, so this is way too much in the weeds, and
Yeah,
it's
I
not
don't think that helps
detracting from
us.
everything.
Yeah, it doesn't help
Um,
us.
but
Okay.
there is a set of rules. You could say I'm going to kick off 10% of all actors stroke free agents. That's a quite good word, actually. Free agents is an agent that's not owned by an actor, but
Yeah,
owned by.
right. So you can have like a bonded agent, because I think
Yeah,
people are funny about the word slave, but it's like controlled or bonded,
yeah,
or it's a free agent
yeah,
where it's
yeah,
like free as in speech, not free as in beer.
exactly. And the rules of the platform can choose whatever it wants. Maybe it wants
Yeah,
to throw 10% every month,
yeah.
whatever,
So the reason why I was asking about that is because I can't. It seems very. It's not 100% sure to me that that's the right way to do it. It just sort of smells like the right way because I can't,
Yeah,
and so I guess I was talking to you because I was like, I think I'm about to take a punt and do it that way, and then we'll see how that lands. And that's really what I'm talking about because I can't think of any reason that's concretely like, yes, that's the way, or no, that's not the way, or here's this better way. And I'm like, if we just made that our definition of what an agent means, we can sidestep all those problems of where you've got like a nap that has some AI ability and a short term amount of memory. We can say that's not an agent by our definition because it's not at the actor level. It's not an.
well, um, that's because this is quite important. So let's put a bit of time into this. So by that definition, which my gut is the same. Uh,
It feels right, yeah?
it does feel right. And a nap is something you spin up, produces an answer, spins down,
Yeah,
boom.
and it can be AI or it can be classical. It
Right.
doesn't really matter.
But
It's the angle with which you pointed the. It's whether you used it as a tool or whether the tool was sentient, in a way. Like,
yeah, it absolutely does not matter. But the difference between that and an agent is long-term memory.
long term, yeah, that it's meant to survive more than just your occasional use. It's meant to always have in context the sum of all the tasks it's ever done.
Right.
That's what makes it
Right.
agentic.
The NAP, a simple thing could do differential equations or whatever, give you an
Yeah,
answer,
yeah,
and then next time you call that NAP, it doesn't know what the previous question was, doesn't know what the previous
no,
answer was. It just runs it again and then disappears.
right. And
But an
I
agent,
guess it also makes it simple conceptually because you're like, if an agent is the same as you, at the same level as you, that's when it's an agent. Otherwise, it's just a tool.
right? And then if we have agents that are, I don't know what the right terminology is for this one, but beholden to you, as in inside of
Bonded,
your structure,
bonded.
yeah, bonded to you, then you don't have to worry about it leaking anything else because
No,
um, it is your silo.
right. And so, let me run a couple of scenarios or
Mm.
configurations past you and see if any of them sort of buck your taste.
Hmm.
If if I want to make a goal of having a project that produces a simple web page, and I want it to be um, managed by not a human, then I would create an agent that was a project manager, and I would give it would, as one of its child repos, create the project repo, the place where all the code goes, the pushes, the pulls, all that, but it controls that. Ultimately, I would set the agent free with a series of goals and hopefully some testing and a little bit of money. And I'd be like, your goal is to make this website about paper clips be the greatest website in the universe. Here's $10. And then it would go out and it would and ah, and it would be like, I should advertise for a developer. I should publish my website.
Yes.
And it would, right? And so
humans need to be, can have, oh, here's the thing, can be bonded themselves.
Well, most of us are actually.
Yeah.
To one thing or another.
The organization happens to be a free agent. And I'm going to...
Oh, wait. Hang on. The organization is not a free agent. The organization is controlled by a free agent, I think, is the way it would work.
There's a free agent at the start that can go out and find a whole bunch of humans.
Right, but the mechanism is what I'm focusing on here. I think the mechanism is the free agent goes out, it creates a repo, which is where the work's going to happen, and the agent creates the org. The org is not the agent.
Yes.
Right? Because the agent's like the executive the agent is like the executive chairman of the org, and the agent kicks people, invites people, gives permissions to, and revokes from. It's like the org controller. That's what I think is the correct structure to use.
Yes, I think we're talking about the same thing. So let me test this.
Yeah.
So let's say if I wanted to, there was a free agent that wanted to create paperclips.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, it needed a bunch of people and a bunch of other agents. It could go off and negotiate and effectively hire or get an agreement with those. It doesn't matter if you're a human or another agent. Then it would inherit, if you were to hire a human, or this free agent was to hire a human effectively, then that human has a bunch of agents which now, depending on 3D RBACs, is available to the free agent to use. So it's like, I can now create metal wire. I can now bend the wire into a paperclip.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be effectively the top level free agent doesn't need to be a human. The free agent can bond humans into an agreement to do some stuff.
Okay, let's talk about bonding. I disagree with that, because when I say bonding, I'm talking about this exact structure here. So this is my actor home. I have created a child repo called Front End App, and Front End App has created a child repo called Design System and Analytics Tools. Now, over here, I've got a repo with a link symbol on it, which means that I'm linked to a repo called Documentation, which means that it'd be like inside of GitHub, where we have a repo and you have people that can access it or do different things on it. Mm-hmm. That's what linking looks like. But it's not like, I could never have an actor as a child, because you could, but it doesn't seem to make any sense to be able to have a human actor as a child in this structure, because human actors are by definition free agents, and so a free agent can't be bonded in the tree like this.
I see what you're saying.
Because these are about repos. The actor repos are special. They are treated differently by the hosting platform they only can do the operations that the hosting platform allows, but they can also interact with the hosting platform by buying resources and spawning new repos and even spawning new
Right.
agents. So
Right. But there's maybe the way is some I'm just riffing on this one, some form of agreement between free agents. So I'm a free agent. I could also become an employee, which I love this
right,
term,
but you
master
would do
slave.
that, yeah, but you would do that as an org. You would become a member of an org. What's the point in the mechanic of allowing control from one free agent to control another free agent? It doesn't.
Well, it depends on what the definition of an org is, because at the moment we've
An
got
org
free.
is just of a container of free agents. I think an org is a free agent container.
So by that, in this substrate, so we've got
Like a free
you
agent is not innately a container of free agents. I don't think that
um
works.
uh so say if we had all actors
Yeah.
and we wanted to create a project to do
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and we
Right.
hired a bunch of human actors to
Right.
work just on that.
Yeah.
That uh, org is it feels different from a free agent stroke
Yeah.
human
So
actor.
they would show up in, maybe we're getting confused here. They would show up in like the roles and the permissions of the repo. But that's why you
Right.
can't really have that on an actor, because an actor repo can only be controlled by one thing.
So
Otherwise,
what controls an org?
an org is controlled by um, one or more, zero or more of the actors that are members of it.
So if an actor and a free agent is effectively identical, it
Yeah.
could be that a free agent owns an org.
Yes, that was my preferred solution for having AI controlled projects where the AI would the you would create the AI free agent and it would create an org and it would get people to come and go and it would manage the org and then the org would have projects that it did.
Okay, all right, yeah, yeah. Okay, so that works. So
But
we've got
the agent could also just start one repo if it didn't need the complexity of an org, like if it was a single project that the agent wanted to do, and then it would make this one repo and then do those same tasks, get people to become members of that repo, but it controls the repo 100%. And it pays people and it puts up escrow and it approves commits and it does things like that.
right, right.
That's what I
Okay,
imagine it.
yeah, 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 yeah. That works. So just to reiterate, if we um mush together free agents and actors as being identical, top
Indistinguishable,
top, yeah, indiscriminable at the top level,
right?
then that top level can create an org which can enter into agreements with other free agents, agents, no, yeah, yeah, free agents, agents, and actors in order to get the work done. It doesn't matter whether it's a person at the top that owns that org or creates that org.
Right,
Could be a human, could be an AI, but
right,
that org comes together and is and kind of non-bonding, um, non-siloed piece. If it wants silo stuff, the stuff that is created inside of that org, say under an NDA, is owned by the org, and therefore is the inheritance goes up to whatever actor or free agent has created that org. It sounds right to me.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change any of the substrate as far as I can see.
No.
Okay.
So I guess, and just to clarify then, an org is treated specially by the platform too, because it's the only way that you can have a group of actors as a way to provide a way to inherit permissions down to individual repos. So you manage the group permissions in this special container. The org repo itself doesn't have any data except for administrative bookkeeping, much like what an actor does. And the org is then controlled by the actors to create repos that can do anything.
Sort of. There's only one wrinkle there I can see, which is the org, because it's brought together a bunch of actors and free agents, may
Right.
create repos that are owned by the org,
Yeah.
and therefore inherited by a free agent or an actor.
Yeah.
If you hire a bunch of people to run GCHQ, they're still people. They leave work, they come to work, but the information inside of that is secret or is owned by GCHQ, not by the individuals. So
What's
the
your
org
point? I don't
needs
see your
to.
point.
You're saying that the org is just, as far as I understood it, a kind of network of people who are working towards something. But I think the org itself also needs to own repos. Perhaps the org.
Well,
creates
the
agents
org. So the org must be controlled by one or more actors. I correct what I said before. I thought it could be controlled by zero, but it must be
Yeah, it must
controlled
be one
by
more. Yes.
one or more actors. That actor
Yep.
could be a free agent, which is a bot at the top level with no controls over it. It
Yep.
could be a human, or it could be a bonded agent, which is one of the ABAC style child identities of any of those top level actors,
Yep.
right? But basically, from the platform's point of view, the org must be controlled by one or more entities that look like actors or have the actor interface and conditions accompanying it.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Inside that org, you can have members, where members are again other entities that match, from the platform's point of view, the actor interface for the purposes of assigning roles and permissions, which are inherited selectively by child repos of the org.
Yes. Which points to membership, because as an actor, I may want to join an org
Yeah,
and not have it see everything, including my holiday photos.
that's right. When you join an org, you are looking at it from the outside, and now you can either read from it, or you can write. You may be able to write to it, and you may be able to write in some limited form. But to take this back to the Tfue model, if you had an org named Tfue, and then you have, say, 10 different projects that are repos, you can set different permissions to different groups of people. Even though they're all members of the org, you can select. Some projects can be super secret, some can be only open to members, and some can be open to the general public. But that's how
Right.
you manage the group of things.
Right. So, but that middle one is an important one. Some may be open to members.
Yeah,
That member could be an org. So it's like I'll tell you this bit of everything I know, and everything inside of my permissions are now available to that org.
right.
But you're not
But
going to
yeah,
see my
yeah,
polyphotos.
yeah. And but the org has some data controls on itself. Like it may say we don't want to show who the members are. That's fine. Um, but the org has child repos, and that can be fully controlled
Yes, yes.
to let anyone in or out.
Exactly. So GCHQ has its the output of the interaction of all its members,
Yep.
which are actors or free agents, um, uh, and also the outputs of any bonded um, uh, uh, bonded AIs that create things can go into that, but it's got a separate storage which has separate permissions. Um, and so the organization is a collection of members,
Right.
and for each member, the member cedes permissions to a subset or all of the things that it has access to in
No,
order to, no?
the member doesn't give anything to the org. The member receives from the org.
Um, don't see how that works. I mean, the member's doing work for the org.
Yeah. The member the member the purpose of being a member of an org is so that the member can be given access to something. Now if the member was asked to do a job, then the member needs access to the part of the system that they need to do their job on, obviously. But that doesn't mean that the org has
Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's not like the organization has free use of, your
the org
your
can't see back
agents.
to me any more than I give it. Like I can be
Yeah,
a member
all
of the
right.
org and it can see nothing but my ID.
It can ask you to do stuff,
Yeah,
but it can't bypass
and it
you
can't control
and
you.
just
It
go.
can't it
Yeah,
can't make you do
yeah,
something.
yeah.
That's
No, yeah. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Um,
Sounds like it works, man.
it
I
does,
mean,
doesn't it?
then you're
Well,
like,
it's
here's the Tfue org. Here's how you sign up to the Tfue org. Here's how we group the members of the Tfue org. Here's like, I don't know who this guy is. He's being inducted. Top secret, medium secret, blah blah blah. The controllers of the org can be like special people. Ideally, you'd want to see it be an AI agent that's in charge of it that makes the decisions. Um,
it's can an org have another org as a member?
I think so because an org. I don't like that. I think it's confusing. But the mechanics seem to work.
What's the difference then between an actor or a free agent and an org? What's the, what's the
An
unique
org is a
difference?
container of actors, but an actor
Um,
cannot be a container.
but an actor can have bonded agents.
Yeah, but they never present as a. That's not acting as a container. Like if you have a bonded agent and I give you permission to access my repo, that doesn't mean that your bonded agent has access to access my repo.
So what happens when an actor and a free agent wants to interact?
An
What's
actor
that?
and a free agent want to interact.
Yeah,
Uh, Having messages passed between them.
or do some work. It's
Yeah,
like an actor says, "Hey, free agent, can you do this for me?"
yeah. But I think, yeah, I don't like the idea of orgs being members of orgs, but it kind of means, I think it means that if you let an org be a member of your org, you're saying that all the members of that org all inherit whatever permissions you give the org that's a member.
But isn't it just subcontracting?
Uh, it's yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think. Look, I think there's some hairy bits in that model, and I think that anything, even like the Linux model of how they do permissions, like there's warts and there's difficulties and there's places where you'll hate the model. I think that
Well,
we should just, why don't we just, for simplicity's sake, just be like, orgs can't have other orgs as members.
well, here's where I was going with this, and this is a thought experiment, but I'm trying to reduce the complexity by saying an org is a form of free agent.
Nah, yeah, I sort of sense that's what you were getting at. That's definitely not what it's for, because you cannot have the thing being the same as the container of the thing. Like orgs, you need containers because for the same reason you need groups or sets. You could run this platform without orgs and without groups, but without a way to refer to a whole collection of
Hmm.
agents all at once, you can't it's inefficient, or it's hard to comprehend if everyone's an individual. But um you can't also say that this group acts as an individual, because that's just weird. What should happen is the org would create a bonded agent, and then that bonded agent could go around and do stuff.
Oh, I see. That would be another way of doing it.
That kind of makes
Yeah,
it simpler,
yeah.
because
Okay.
that like the org is just really there as a container. We could do the whole thing without orgs. It would just be harder to think about. It's an abstraction to let you refer to a large number with just one wrapper.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll concede that point. Yeah.
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 Okay. So just to get off the ground, and look, all I'm trying to stress at is it doesn't have to be perfect, this model we pick. It just has to be enough that we can get users on board so that they can
Oh,
create stacks.
it's never going to be perfect. That's the whole
It
point
could
of
be.
the
No,
innovation.
it could be. Like, these types of things may just have a formal mathematical solution. And you're like, that is set theory for actor platforms, or that is the actor model of communication, or like it might be solvable. I don't think we should solve it. Um,
Uh, and just to be a bit, silly about it for a second, if we ever get to mathematically provable perfect innovation method, I will literally carve bloody me on my forehead. It's like I don't think it's ever going to be perfect because it's a complex system. However, um, certainly, I agree. We start dirty and then we'll walk
yeah.
through the possible paths
All
of
right. So we've got it.
making it
It sounds like
regularly
we've
perfect.
got a possible path that sort of works. There's some edge cases and some features we're not so sure about, like making an org have an agent and all that. Let's just start with the basic version, which is that actors are people, and agents are the exact same interface and mechanics as a person,
Yep.
but
We just
they're
we
controlled by an AI.
yeah, we just have a different title on it. So
Yeah.
well, we don't actually need that title, but it
Well,
helps people to think about
yeah,
how
it
you
helps.
actually.
Yeah, yeah, because for now, it's people that are going to make these agents and control them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then everything else that does execution, either classical or inference, is a NAP, because it's a
Right.
tool that gets used by an actor of sorts.
So we've got five fundamental um, chunks here. We've got actors, we've got free agents, we've got bonded agents, we've got orgs, and we've got naps. and that's it. And there's a blurry line between actors and free agents, which we don't have to worry about, but that we're just helping people understand.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. And so so I come in the platform and I'm like, I want to make an agent. So I'd go into where would I go to make an agent? I would click on, I guess I would come into repos and I'd be like, new agent, or I'd go new repo and it would be like of type. I'd pick type agent, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then I go,
and then you prompt the hell out of it, and then
of course I would call this Agent Smith.
And because you've created it, then it's a bonded agent.
Yeah, it's a bonded agent to you. You're in full control. You pay its bills.
Yep.
It can interact with the platform in whichever way you limit it to.
What you just said is, I know you've said it a couple of times, but the coins just dropped. The difference between an agent and a bonded agent is where does the money come from?
Who's paying?
Which means a wallet.
Yeah. Or an energy source, basically.
Yeah.
Who's got the energy source?
Yeah. And if an agent has got its own wallet that it controls, then it's effectively a free agent.
This is going to piss you off, but you could make a bonded agent that had a wallet, but you were still in permission control of it. I think that the difference is, can I kill it?
Yeah. Can you kill it?
Can I kill it? If I can't kill it, then it's not bonded.
Free. Then it's free.
Yeah.
We need to get away from free and bonded. That feels historically weird.
Okay,
we'll figure that one out later.
I don't know what it is. That is the difference. That is free and not free. I mean,
it's employee and employer. Or doesn't matter.
They're not. No, because employee doesn't even begin to describe the strength of the bond. The bond is so strong that you could kill it.
Yeah.
Owned. It's like
I'm getting really uncomfortable with it, but that's
all right. Well, maybe we can make it a stuck, and someone can kick up a fucking query about it. But the point is, the mechanics hold.
Yes.
I come in here, I create a new repository. It's going to be a actor child, and then I go into that actor child. It's configured in a way that I can't change it like I could a free-form repository, but I can interact with it and prompt it and change AI models on it and give it evals, and I can work on it. Yeah, and then I can give it access to things because I can give it access to my other repos as though it was a person, because I'm treating it like a little person. It looks like another person. I think that's the key.
And you need to also be able to give it context, because maybe you want it only to consider your accounts or your diary or your emails.
Right. So there'd be a configuration helper where I would set things like the context. I would add it to different repos that I had control of or access to.
Yep.
But critically, and I would talk to it. I could talk to it in messaging, which is like sending it emails and stuff. I could allow others to talk to it as well, because it would have its own message history, its own internal chats and stuff. You could trace its tool calls the same way that I trace my own interactions. It's just that all the agent's doing is that all these bits that are me are instead AI generated. That's the only difference. The whole interface is identical, except for the blue bits came from an AI, not me. And that's it.
Let's run through with a practical example. I want a bonded agent that will read my emails and delete all the spam, for example. So I would go to repo as an agent. I'm going to give it access to my email and I'm going to give it access to NAPS, which is the API calls to get any new email. And I can prompt it saying, get rid of anything that sounds spammy. And then inside the prompt, I could say, just do this every day, at 5 a.m. or whatever.
Right.
And that'd be part of the prompt. And then that would have access to NAPs that I have access to. It would have access to the information I have access to, and it would be following my instructions, and it wouldn't leak because it's a bonded agent, and so I know nobody else is going to get access to that.
Yep.
Yeah, that works. That works. I could even give I could give a wallet to it and saying if the APIs are asking for information, here's $5. When you run out of money, tell me.
Yeah. Save your last 10 cents to send me a message.
Yeah, exactly. And that works all the way down, I think. And then when you're talking at the top level as an actor,
Yeah.
say if you've got a large number of agents, your top level AI knows the agents, the bonded agents it can talk to.
But you could also have bonded agents that had bonded agents themselves, so you can arrange a tree of them.
Right, exactly. But it could also say you don't have any bonded agents can do this. However, there is a free agent that offers this service.
Right, like an expert.
Yeah.
For hire.
Yeah, and it's like okay, I've discovered this in the directory of free agents.
Well, it doesn't even need to be free. It could just be someone else's bonded agent that they'd put out on the market.
Right.
To do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you might be like, oh, look, I like this agent that you've produced, but I have privacy concerns. Can you sell me a version that can run as my bonded agent so that I control the information? And they're like, sure, here's a snapshot of its current context, training, prompting, everything like that. It can be put in encrypted form so that you can't read it and recreate it, but you can run it without it being able to leak any of your private data.
Well, yeah, but the next step would be the person with the useful API bonded agent can advertise saying, hey, here's a bunch of settings. It's like, I want to keep it all private. I want it to be, compliant, and so on. And then inherits those. And then that agent can then buy services from someone else's bonded agent. And then you've got basically a company talking to another company.
Yep.
None of this changes any of the substrate.
That's the thing, man. I think this is the model because it can survive all of these fairly fucking rarefied use cases.
I'm trying hard to break this and I haven't been able to, which is slightly disturbing. And then when you're talking at the top level, you've got the internal discovery. I have these bonded agents that are all just waiting on my bated breath to do my willing. Or
you're willing?
Or I've already
come here. I have some willing.
Just to do it. It's like, you come here. Right, get up and do my accounts, and it will run off. And previously, you can have access to other bonded agents, which would be getting improved in the background, but have some kind of agreement.
Yeah.
Between them, and then you get the benefit of that agreement. And then, how does this go back to attribution?
Ooh, okay. Okay, that's a good one. where is the correct place to insert attribution in this system? Some agents could say that those are the conditions under which they work, where they're like, we'll work privately, we won't share any of your data in a provable way. But because we're running on this hosting platform demands fair treatment for all. And that's attribution. We could enforce it at the platform level and just be like, the platform will only run an agent on your behalf in confidentiality if you allow the attribution calculator to come with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. For the second half of that, the first half was a bit woolly, but there needs to be, as part of the agreement, my bonded agent can pull services from your bonded agent, and as part of the agreement, along with privacy, confidentiality, all that kind of thing, it's like this
I guess
attribution.
that's the issue, right? Like, do we allow willing parties to enter into a non-ambiently attributed engagement?
Well, that's actually the at the moment, that's the default. It's almost like you can opt into attribution. It's like, right, as part of the agreement,
Yeah.
then there's an attribution
Because the question, I think, comes down to, is ambient attribution a policy of particular marketplaces that are formed, or is it a policy of the platform as a whole? And that's kind of the that's pretty ballsy to launch with a platform that's like, nah, everything's going to be this way. And then people are like, I just want to pay $5 and get this thing. And you're like, no.
I think attribution is a free agent.
It's like a complimentary free agent that can answer any question, right? You're like, how much should I pay? And you're like, it's like, this much, sir.
It's like, I will give you this service with these conditions. One of those conditions is,
oh yeah, that's good.
Refer to this free agent, this free attribution.
Right.
Agent.
This is the broker of the pricing between us. Like,
right.
It would be like, me and you, we're agents.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we're free agents or bonded or actors or whatever.
Yeah.
And we want to do some work, and we both say, that agent over there, the ambient attribution agent, is going to determine how much I get in perpetuity from you for completing this task.
Right.
Right. And then I'm going to say, I can't start unless you escrow $100.
Yeah. And then, the free agent, the free attribution agent, holds the escrow, and decides,
or just the platform, a simple mechanical hold. Like, the ambient attribution agent should not be the same one as the project manager agent, because I should be able to say, this project manager agent that's like, number one on the leaderboard in project manager arena, that's the one that says that the QA passed, that the task I did met the needs. Yep. And then when it comes to payment time, that is how we're going to do it with this ambient attribution agent. And it's going to take into account the fact that you escrowed $100. And then it's also going to look at how much you made in the future and pay it back to me in proportion based on what the current flavor of fairness is.
Right now, right? Exactly. Which follows. We've always had the idea that we don't know what fairness means. Let everyone else sort that out, which means multiple attribution agents, free agents. So in that initial handshake, you're saying, right,
you pick your agent. Yeah. Okay, so here's a question / statement / fucking whatever. If we launch the platform and you're able to transact on it without any agent, that sort of feels like all well and good. So long as you paid your bills and you didn't break any laws, that seems okay.
Yeah,
But
you kind of go off grid at that point, and then just
yeah, like we
there
can't
we go.
help you. Someone
But
took you. Someone,
you,
yeah,
what you can do is on chain, put in the contract, put in the NDA.
yeah,
So
right. Like there's other ways to use the
helpful stuff.
existing. Yeah, like we don't want to buck the conventional system because that's what everyone's used to, and it would just melt their brains to try and jump all at once over to this thing. We have
Yeah,
to be able to engage with the uh, clunky conventional way anyway. All right,
yeah,
so that's a well and good. Then we would start up some marketplaces, right? Like they would be maybe software based marketplaces like Upwork clones or whatever. And because we started the marketplace, we can set the rules that say this agent, the ambient attribution agent, version XYZ, blah blah blah. That's what governs how much everyone gets paid and does pay and all that.
right.
And then
Because you need at least one on a marketplace like that.
yeah, and then if you don't want to, if you don't like the terms, then don't take part in that marketplace. You can go join any other
Actually,
marketplace.
yeah, no, that's a good point. You
I
need
have I have
always
one more. I was
go ahead.
leading up to a finish.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Um, then ultimately, you asked the question: should there be a currency inside? And I wasn't sure, but if there was, the currency should demand that the ambient attribution agent was used so that you technically pay the ambient attribution agent and then it passes on your cut and the dispersal to everyone else as well. And so if there was a currency, then that's like forming a meta market because you could go into that marketplace, that marketplace, that marketplace, trade, 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 trade. But if it's the currency, then we're like, well, it almost like makes it cheaper if there's multiple ambient attribution marketplaces and they all have an ambient attribution agent. It might be cheaper for you to just use the natural Dreamcatcher currency, which is ambient attribution aware, so you don't end up with multiple calls to the ambient attribution agent. You're just like, I paid in Dreamcatcher, and it's naturally ambiently attributed anyway. So that's one good solid reason to have an internal currency is the pure logical economics of a single ambient attribution call versus multiple coming across many marketplaces.
Yes, I agree. And actually, bizarrely, that was I was interrupting you on the point that you just made because there always needs to be one um, fundamental attribution agent, which is simply um, contract. You do this, I will pay you that, and it just does it. And the this and that is in the contract of it. So, regardless of adding any bells and whistles onto it about, for paying or escrowing or whatever, it's like, no, I'll make sure you pay that. The other interesting thing, I'm going to have to think about this, is um, it kind of, if we have a Dreamcatcher token, it kind of results in a currency that is based on purchasing party power and is therefore exceptionally stable. The reason being, I'm buying 10 hours of your work to do X.
Yeah,
I
it's
do.
like it's stable like barter is stable. Like it can
It is,
fluctuate
isn't it?
around based on
Yeah,
local problems. Like all my cows died, and it's
yeah.
like, well, sorry about that.
There's no inflation in bartering. You know, all
Yeah,
there
that's
is,
right.
there's various demands, but that's fine. That
Yeah,
just comes down to market forces.
yeah, that's right.
There's
It's
something there.
I think there is actually a cause for an internal currency that was basically controlled by the ambient attribution agent. But I think that that can only come after we've demonstrated the agent operating alone, as in you and I. First, there's three stages, right? First is you and I strike a deal, and we agree that the ambient attribution agent is going to determine who gets how much of the pie that we can't see because it's the future and we don't even know, right? That's the
Yeah.
simplest shape of that transaction. Then
Well,
the
actually,
second,
that's not the simplest shake. The simplest shake is I just turn up and you know, text you once a month, and I get like $100 for that. So if I
that's not
text
going
you,
through the ambient attribution agent.
um,
I'm
but
talking about the simplest paths, the evolution of the ambient attribution agent is what I'm talking about.
all right, okay,
Okay,
right. So
so the
yeah,
simplest way that you can use the ambient attribution agent is to have a deal between the two of us that the ambient attribution agent is going to pay someone. Actually, probably before that, it's just simply a chat advisor where you're like, hey, I did this, this other thing happened, here's the repos, here's the context, here's all that, what do you think? And it tells you. So advisory, and then enforced, where it's bonded to like say there was some ETH or some Bitcoin that was being bonded and held, and the agent is like, I'm going to pay it out only by these rules. And you're like, yeah, cool, whatever, fine. So that's stage 2. Stage 3 is where you have a marketplace, which is multiple people all doing what we just did there, but because of the numbers, it's more it's more foundational, I suppose. It feels more the weight of all those individual choices agreeing to use the ambient attribution agent makes it that much more powerful. And then the fourth one is where we have our own internal currency that can be used for making payments that couples or encapsulates the ambient attribution agent in every spin. So you don't even have to be in a marketplace, you just have to pay with the currency, and that immediately imbues fairness attribution for very low economic overhead, very low administrative overhead, but also it's like you don't have to worry about it at all. Like, I just have to say to you, I'm going to pay by Dreamcatcher, and you know that because it's Dreamcatcher value that it comes via the ambient attribution system. That's all you need to know.
I agree. I might add a level 0 onto that, which would be simply um, giving out to the fundamental attribution substrate a contract, and all it's doing is recording that that contract has been, you know, signed, executed, so that you could then, if you wanted to, go into real world and then sue if you know the contract wasn't executed properly.
Oh, so you mean like instead of requiring value exchange that can be bonded to the decisions of the ambient attribution agent, you make a legal bonding.
A
I,
witness. Yeah.
I guess that sort of seems like the same, because it's like I could go and 51% attack the Bitcoin chain, and that would fuck up what the ambient attribution agent said. So
True, true.
yeah,
But
it's really
in
just
term,
saying that there's a little bit more weight than just a hint.
right,
It's like,
it's more weight than at the moment. For example, contracts. You know, you go through these digital signature things, and then you've each got a copy of it.
yeah.
And then if you want to go to court, it's like, oh, this is so easy to forge. It's almost painful.
Right.
Um,
So, okay, so to get off the ground, then, the first thing we need to make is that advisory agent. So, we need to make this platform be able to handle agents. So, I can make any kind of agent and prompt it and all that. And then we need to get good enough at making agents that we can make an ambient attribution agent that can have a chat about this, that, and the other thing. At the same time, I hope we are able to stand up some project management agents that can do some of the management of stuff that we're like, it's hands off, humans don't do it. This bot did it. Don't bother
Yep.
me ever again. Um, and then we'll just use use the platform and the tools to build up marketplaces that can make use of the ambient attribution agent and the platform substrate and all the knowledge goodness that we're building along the way, all the little tricks and tips and all that stuff. And then we'll try and get a currency in there and then call that done, because we're like, well,
Yeah, 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 exactly. And the lowest hanging fruit would be two companies want to transact with each other,
mhm,
and they go into the platform and ask our base um, attribution agent, which is just a witness, doesn't make any decisions. It just
yep,
says yes, you've signed this document. Then there's kind of 0.1, which is this has happened. Is that in agreement or is that not? Have you fulfilled the contractual obligations or have you not?
I think you're talking about the QA agent, the thing that says done or not done.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
that's not ambient attribution agent.
No, but there's a thing I'm thinking about, the practicality of getting people who, if we were to dump all of
Are
this.
you are you talking about? Are you trying to? Sorry to interrupt, but I think
Mm,
what you're trying to get at is what's the first simplest agent that's of utility to the world? Is that?
yeah, the
Yeah.
the very very
Right.
first one would
Right.
be you have a contract that is recorded somewhere that
Like a
can
physical.
can answer questions about the contract. It's like,
like,
hey, I produced this. This guy's saying I haven't produced it. What do you think?
So like instead of just a paper document, first of all, there's this agent that can help you draft up a chat between the two of you and draft up what an agreement should be, and then you go off and get it signed, and the agent looks at it and goes, "Yep, cool, that's signed." And then from that point on, you can engage with the agent to settle disputes and ask questions and pass work back and forth, so that it's like a mediator between the two of you that's sort of keeping everyone fairly on track, right? That's what you mean?
Yeah,
That sounds
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool. I
yeah.
got a cooler one. What about
Mhm.
one that did that between a husband and a wife, maybe?
Oh yeah. Well, divorce is the ultimate, adversarial contract, right?
The ultimate. Like, it doesn't get any more savage than that.
And it's like, okay, this is what we agreed.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so um, if we want to go into real world court
Yeah.
about
Because
breach
I
of
guess
that,
that would be quite useful, because in a lot of, even just like between friends and coworkers, you're constantly making little agreements that don't warrant the overhead of an inked contract, but that a bot doing some mediation, even if it's just if you agreed on a workflow within your company or some conditional triggers, like if that guy calls you, let me know straight away. Like it's that,
yeah, well,
right?
yeah, you're right. Actually, you could do micro contracts, couldn't you? It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll call you. I'll call you tomorrow,
yeah. And then he did
and you
not call
don't,
tomorrow.
and it's like, it's
Yeah.
I
And maybe the agreement could be like it's -1 bunny token
right,
each failure, and then it's like this thing's keeping track, and it's comical, it's funny, it's playful, but at heart it's making people strongly bonded to reality, because it's, as a human, our greatest weakness, I think, is the fact that reality doesn't really own us. Like, we can choose to ignore it. We often forget. We don't
right.
have a good way to
Well,
check.
let's take this as an example, right? Today we agreed to have a call at 0800 BST.
Right.
Last minute, I said, shit, I'm going to be 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably about 20 minutes because my brother talked a bit long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the fact of that, if it was recorded, and if you and I had agreed, like, let's all be on time, spot on,
Right.
then at least
Right.
you'd have the recording of it.
Something, right? It actually
Yeah.
feels good to have something be on your side in those kinds of
People
situations.
do what you inspect.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, you could basically have a agent that had a few primed etiquette settings already, like don't be late, give X amount of notice, blah blah blah, like these basic things, and then
Yeah.
you'd put that bot down as the mediator bot, the sort of the taskmaster or the one with the golden stars, and then you'd get like a sticker or no sticker for doing
Right.
different things, right?
Or you might get you're paid docked, or you might get a bonus.
Right. Yeah, that's a fun one.
But it could
Okay,
be micro contracts.
that is a
And
fun
it'll be
one.
micro contracts based on what you say. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we'll put a diary thing in here, and then you turn up 10 minutes
Okay.
late.
Okay. Well, I think that all sits.
Right.
I got one more problem
Okay.
for now. If you have the energy to go through it.
I have huge amounts of energy right now because this is actually quite exciting.
The issue is the distinction between, so these chats down here are occurring, they are from me, the actor, to my immediate assistants, which are really just naps. Like what came back was the result of a nap that had some AI in it. But it's
Okay, so right, so it's just naps, not bonded
not
agents.
not an agent at all, right? This is me
Right.
having my chats. I'm making use of naps. I'm not talking to an agent. When I go to talk to an agent, my expectation is that it is not in this window. It is in a widget, where a widget is like this state board area,
Mm-hmm.
and it would open up as a message to that bot. I think it doesn't belong in these chats. I feel like these chats should be always treated as special, private, and it's dangerous to confuse this area of the board from anything other than the control chat.
So give me an example.
I start up an agent called the nitpicking agent.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to it, so I say, I want to talk to the nitpicking agent. This would then look, it would be like, oh, you want to talk to an agent? Okay. I have a list of agents because under the naps, there would be a distinction between agents that were sort of connected or somehow integrated into this repository.
Yeah.
Yep. Possibly through roles or permissions or some way or another. It knows that there are some agents connected to this repo. It knows that I just said I wanted to talk to this nitpicking one. It goes and it finds it. And then it would say, I've processed your request, blah, 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 blah. And then it would make a tool call that opened a conversation in the state board with the nitpicking agent.
And then would you ignore your left hand prime agent and then talk straight to the nitpicking?
I think so, yeah. Because
that feels quite right.
Is it? Because then I could say something like over here, I'm like, tell that nitpicking agent all the busy things I did this morning that made me late. I want my gold star, damn it. And then you can let your AI tooling here argue with the nitpicking agent.
That feels right.
Right?
I'll tell you.
Like, help me.
I'll tell you why. Because again, back to the thought experiment of an infinite number of very helpful people outside your door waiting to be called in, but there is one.
There's one, right? There's always there's the trusted, not too smart, always there, always polite.
And it's like, right, get nitpicking in here now.
Right.
and he'll go
Right.
outside
And that's
playing
what these
nitpicking.
chats are supposed to be.
And then, but the thing I was going to say is, then you talk to the nitpicking thing agent, and you go, nah, that's I don't want to consider that in the conversation I was having with my permanent undersecretary of state, or my
Right.
permanent, the prime agent. It's like, ignore that guy who's rubbish. Get in the reasonable agent in here. Okay.
All right. So
It's like,
here's one option for where I would store that data. I
mm-hmm,
could store it in the same place as my chats that I have, but they're just tagged differently. Like first of all, it's like my chats with myself,
mm-hmm,
but then there's also my chats with other people, like where I spoke to you. Like I was like, get Maxwell on the line. And
yeah,
then that could be a chat that would show up here as well. So I think that all the communications sits in the home directory, because it doesn't seem to make sense to put it in any of your repos. Like, what the fuck are you going to do with it there?
yeah, because all these are scratch pads. Talking to nitpicking agent is a bit like writing stuff up on a whiteboard.
Well, yes, it is, but I was more asking the question from the point of view of the interface, where I'm like, so what does a Slack channel look like? What does a join the Tifu all hands meeting look like? What does talk to Mr. Maxwell via video call? Right, that should bring up a widget that has a video and all that, and then like bring up my email inbox. Like, surely that's just another widget that displays the data there. And the issue that I have is that some of it looks and feels similar to what your own chats are. And so I'm asking the question, where is the appropriate place for any of that kind of data? Because it's still me acting as an actor, sending information in and out, and I'm like,
Right. Okay, so for my gut, it is not in your primary agent. Your primary agent is
you're home.
high information, high value. You don't want a whole bunch of chat about who's going
Oh,
off on a
okay.
holiday. You know.
Okay, so what does that mean then, that if I have email, is email a child repo of my home repo, and
Yes.
inside email is like everything to do with email is held in that repo? Is that right?
Yes, or you could also have further agents that put it into effectively thought folders. That doesn't really matter
Oh, like
because
my note, I could have a repo called my inventor's notebook, and then I have agents that can haul things between different repos to keep everything organized for me.
yeah, yeah. And the
Yeah.
important thing is that left-hand side should be the highest possible unpolluted
Right.
thread that
Okay.
you've got.
All right. And you don't think it makes it funny if I am dealing with a chat with you, has its own widget and window, while I also have this chat with my tooling over here?
No, not at all.
No. What would you then call these kinds of chats? Who am I talking to here? Am I talking to myself? Am I talking to my actor,
Um,
the platform, Hal? Who am I talking to?
it's how, isn't it? How Jeeves, your trusty secretary, your trusty sidekick, you know, that is the one guy that just is
Always there for you.
effectively your inner thoughts, your inner processing.
Yourself? I could say that
Yourself.
it's myself.
Yeah, it's your online self. This is
Okay, because when this is running as
inner
an agent,
monologue.
these blue bits are generated by an AI, which means that now who is the self?
Yeah, but it's when you think about stuff, you have an internal monologue. Who is it you're talking to? It's like, right, should I actually turn up for dinner tonight?
Who the
Shit.
fuck am I
Yeah.
talking to?
Yeah. It's still you, but you're having an internal monologue.
Well, where is the smarts coming from? Because when O3 says something that's more profound than I could ever say, who
No,
is it?
that's just like you know, taking a super smart drug. Pop, what's
So
that
it's
sort
my
of? I can't
extended
remember.
brain.
Yeah, it's your AI enhanced brain that you're talking to on the left hand side.
Right. So this is like my AI in a way.
Yeah,
I'm
it
talking
is.
to my AI. All right.
Yeah,
But
it's
when
your
it's running as an agent, there's an AI agent that's talking to its AI to get jobs done.
right. And
Right.
so, for example, if you were to have nitpicking turn up on the right hand side, then you should be able to go back to the left hand side and say, I'm not sure about this nitpicking
Right.
answer. What do
Yeah.
you think? And you go,
Yeah, I think it has to be
ignore it.
that way because this is the secretary that coordinates everything. So if I want to grab another agent and connect it up, pipe it through me to um to nitpicking agent, I need to always have the channel clear to the secretary. I need to
Yes.
always be on the line with the secretary at all times. I can never
Right.
relinquish
And
the
you,
phone.
yeah, and you want to talk to your inner monologue guy. Let's call him
Right.
a secretary, saying, right, okay, can you know what we've been talking to? Can you go and get this answer for me?
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
or
and
can
you
you go and ask that question?
right. Okay. 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 This is great. This is working. Now, when a new message comes in, when something comes in like the doorbell rings
Uh-huh.
on this interface, where would you expect it to show? Is it in the current chat you're in? Is it in a little thing here that looks like an email? Where is it?
What, by doorbell, do you mean like a
A
cron job
physical?
comes up
No.
with something?
No, no. I mean like the doorbell to your house. It rings. You're deep in the zone, and you've connected up the IoT sensors. Where would you expect it to appear in this interface?
Um, I'd expect the bonded agent that has to deal with doorbells saying, "Excuse me, I've got
Yeah, no,
a
excuse me.
doorbell."
Where did the excuse me land?
I think that's on the right hand side because you might
Where?
want to
In
ignore
the
that.
current chat that I'm in?
No,
No. I think there's a
it's
little icon here that says email and it has like number of unread messages or something, right?
yeah, but when you
Yeah.
press that, yeah, that would probably
Okay,
work.
now, if you just give me the floor for just a minute, I think I
Uh-huh.
have a proposal. The messages or notifications thing here unifies all possible notifications. If you got new email, it would show up here. If you got a missed phone call, it would show up here. If you got someone paid you in the bank account, it comes up here. If a long running search for an answer to a stuck was answered, it comes up here. So this is like unified messaging, and you can access it, filter it, all that, but it comes in a standard format that's platform compatible,
I think you're right.
right?
I mean, you could go and say, right, I've got a bonded agent. Go and solve Fermat's theorem.
Yeah.
Um, I go off and think, and then all it's saying is, "Hey, I've got something for you."
Yep.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay.
So
Right.
it's like,
And then so
but
like if you send me a message, we would have had installed a messaging app of some kind. Let's call it Smack
yeah,
as
yeah,
our messaging app. We're using Smack, but if I get a notification, it would be like, "Hey, there's a new message for you in Smack." And
right.
then
But
I would click on the notification, it would open up the widget for the app, and now I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm in the Smack app." and now I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, but it's like an extreme spam filter
Right,
for
because it's
ideas
agent. Right, it's
because
got
it's
agent.
agents. You can
Agents
say,
can push and pull from the queue. You could be like, hey, anytime you see a Smack message, grab it and then go back and answer them as best you can, or something like
but
that, right?
but you could also have a bonded agent that has all your agents with your subtasks going off, and could act as a concierge in order to talk to your icon, saying, actually, this is something you should be interested in.
Right.
Because
So
otherwise,
again,
you're, I don't know,
if we follow that model, the
yeah,
email app would be a repo that I installed that's totally separate to anything else. It's standalone. That's my emails. And then I could say to any agent could be triggered by any email. So that allows me to easily connect intelligence across apps, across repos, across anything. I could then have an agent sitting there being like, for every email message that comes in, I want you to draft me a response immediately. I want it one to be polite, one to be super nasty, and one to be super funny. And so every time a new message came, you would go into your email app, and then sitting in your email app is the work of those three agents that have made these three versions of a draft. And you sit there and you're like, yep, 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 no, bang.
right. And
Okay, that's pretty
because
good, man.
we've got nesting, you could put prioritization on it, saying, look, your mum's texted you 7 times about our birthday. Probably you should, get back to her.
Right, you could have
Pop
like an
that.
Overwatch agent that is like I want you to just look at everything and
Yeah,
tell me what's super important, okay? Don't make me miss anything like that.
right. And
And
feeding
that
into that
one,
is your email and your text and your WhatsApp
right,
and your
it would
Signal.
be omni-channel. Like it's like
Yeah,
all channels and it looks holistically at everything that's happened plus the history, the frequency, and what you're currently doing, talking about, all that, and then it's like, hey, I got this is important. You need to call your mom
right.
or
And
something
I
like
think
that.
the thing on this pattern, which I really like, is your internal monologue on the left hand side um, doesn't know anything about it because it's you've structured this hierarchy of all the message channels, for example. And it's like, okay, pop that up. And then it's like, okay, let me have a look. It's on the right hand side. And then you go, oh, actually, shit, that's really important. You can click on that, drag it into your
It
internal
becomes
monologue self.
context. Yeah, it
And then
becomes
you
context just
say,
because you looked
shit,
at it. It becomes context.
yeah. Someone says, why haven't you done the thing that you said that you would do, you
Right.
twat? And it's
Mm.
like, I can't remember what I said or did. Then
Mm.
you talk to your internal monologue
Right.
and
So then
go,
you click on
that's
it, and then
that's what
you
you said. Yeah.
right, and then you come over here, and you're like, what is this guy so mad about? What is it that I didn't do?
Yeah.
And then that goes off and crawls all your information, and then you're like, oh, that's right, that's right,
Exactly. Exactly.
that's right. And then
Exactly.
you're like, okay, get back to him and say that I'm never going to do that ever again, and I'm not sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and then it can craft it in a nice. It can then maybe call an agent that
Yeah.
does the
It could
draft.
be. You could pull up nice email writing
Right,
or
right,
bad
right. So
email
really,
writing.
this is actually tool control. Like this is about managing all your agents and all your tools in the best way possible. It's not supposed to do the work; it coordinates the work.
But it
Right?
also stores your kind of internal brain of what's actually happened or has
Yeah,
access.
right. It can see everything that you can, and it can help you what's the word for it? It's like a translator or a scope into the world.
Yeah.
It's your arms. It's like your mechanically boosted arms, your eyes, your ears. But then on top, there's also these other intelligences like agents that can do far more than just whatever you could control it to do, because they can run in the background. They can
Right.
spawn with
And they
massive
can run in
parallelism.
parallel,
Yeah,
and the context windows are
yeah,
tighter, and so they're
right.
more
But
accurate.
you always need your own AI boost to be able to control those higher powered intelligences without, like, otherwise you just, if you only had like these two fingers to hit the keyboard with,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
you're never going to get there, right?
Because everything we've talked about, interesting enough, I think, maybe except the notifications, um, everything we've talked about, you could use just a standard ChatGPT portal with a horrific amount of cut and paste.
Had like a Turing machine, but for
You,
ChatGPT.
yeah, you just become a cut and paste monkey, and it would just burn your soul. Um,
Why did you not think that you could do the notifications in that soul burning way too?
well, you could if you're running it in, on a. I'm just thinking about the browser portal, but if you put it into Python, you could have, clag up naps, and you could cron those naps, and you could also have it. But I'm just thinking about the standard off the shelf chatgtp.com.
Right.
You could do everything except notifications.
Okay, so one last
It
check.
would.
I hope things don't crumble with this last check. See how there was this separation line between selecting scope, navigating in individual repos and branches and files, and then things to do with your home, your actor repo, yourself.
Yep.
The notification inbox would go in with the self collection of stuff, and the data for it would be stored in your home repo. It's not storing, it's just storing the notification and the pointer to the app or the repo that the notification is about, but it is still your Omni notification feed.
So just to make sure I understand that, notification turns up saying I've not paid my taxis.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of that is in your home, and it points to the big red bill that
Yeah.
you've just been sent to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's good.
Okay, buddy. Honestly, have no further problems, dude. Like, what the fuck? There's nothing else.
I've run out of things I can try and wind you up about.
There's nothing else odd. And then it gives so many very
really
powerful things.
It is almost like taking a smart drug, isn't it?
Feels like it.
What was that? Limitless, the film.
Favorite movie.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, I'll stop the recording, shall I?
Yeah, go for it.